The Great Trek was an eastwards migration of Dutch-speaking settlers in South Africa. The movement was to avoid the British colonial administration in South Africa. The Dutch settlers, who were referred to as the Boers, created their own republic after subduing Africans that owned the land. The increased influence of the British made these Boers to migrate into the interior of the South African area. This migration led to them subduing some Africans that owned some or most of those lands. And this migration ended up in the establishment of some Boer republics. Some of them were the Republic of Natalia, Transvaal Republic, and the Orange Free State. The growing influence of the Imperial British Government triggered the movement of the Boers. However, in the republic that were established by the Boers, they operated in a very strict imperial method. They enslaved Africans and forced them to work in their farms, and as well as forcing them to do domestic works. Although they forced Africans to work in their farms, they still faced shortage of labor. This made them to bring in Indians. Now let's look at the documentation of Mackindo and Co. Mackindo and Co. documented it in this way. They stated that to solve the labor shortage in sugar and cotton plantations, laborers were recruited from India. They were mainly low-caste Hindus from Mandaras. More than one-third of those who came were women. The Indian laborers were brought on a 5-year contract at agreed low minimum wages. At the end of the 5 years, the Indian laborers could, if they wish, renew the contract for another 5 years. On the other hand, they could obtain their freedom to live and work in South Africa or to return to India. Those who stayed for 10 years were paid they were paid their fares by their employers. The first shipment of Indians arrived in the Republic of Natalia in 1860. Many more followed after the first shipment. By 1866, there were more than 6,000 indebted Indians in Natal. In 1875, the figure rose to over 10,000, and by the end of the 19th century, the Indians were about 100,000 and had outnumbered the whites. The Indians played a very important role in the development of Natal sugar industry. Most of the Indians decided to stay after the expiration of their 10 years contracts, rather than return to India. Some of them remained in the plantations, while some went into the other occupations. Some of them worked as artisans, cooks, house servants, tailors, washermen, farmers, vegetable settlers, etc. Some moved to other parts of South Africa. Some of them that returned back to India complained of discrimination on the hands of the Boers. The Boers were believed to have maltreated a good number of these Indians the same way they were maltreating Africans. One historical fact about the Boers is that the Boers believed that they were the only first-class citizens, while other races and tribes are second-class citizens. The Indians were as well faced discrimination from the hands of some of the Boers. Some of them were brutally handled, some were flogged, and they faced a whole lot of discriminations just the same way Africans faced. The Indian government investigated the complaints that were tendered by those that returned back to India and found out that they were true. The government of India banned further recruitment of Indian laborers for some time. It was in 1874 that the recruitment resumed after some reforms were put in place. But that did not end the discrimination properly. By the 1800s, some Gujarat traders from India migrated on their own initiative to South Africa. They opened shops in towns in Natal, Transvaal, and the Orange Free States. The Boer shop owners felt threatened and attempted to force them to close their shops, but they failed. In order to show their unhappiness, high level of discrimination were meted against these Indians, and mainly the the shop owners. In 1893, Mahatma Gandhi arrived in Natal Republic on a legal assignment. He discovered the discrimination against Indian businessmen and stayed to help them. Well, it is believed that it was in South Africa that Mahatma Gandhi developed his famous theory of nonviolent protest against colonial rule, which he later used in his native India. This tends to explain the entrance of the Indian race into the South African region, and as well their contribution during the rush for settlement in South Africa. Please, if you are watching us for the very first time, subscribe to our channel and click on the notification icon so that anytime we drop a new content, you will be one of the earliest persons to be notified. Please go ahead to share our content so as for other people to go through them. Thanks for being part of this channel.